can start reading, and Sunti has already started recording, so we will start. So, who will read today? Archana Ji sometimes goes away early because of her work, so Archana Ji, you can read if you have the text.
Yes, Rangada, I have the text.
Okay. Knowledge and force or will.
Knowledge and force or will, for all conscious force is will. Sorry. Knowledge and force or will, for all conscious force is will, are the twin sides of the action of consciousness. In our mentality, they are divided. The idea comes first, the will comes stumbling after it or rebels against it, or is used as its imperfect tool with imperfect results. Or else, the will starts up first with a blind or half seeing idea in it and works out something in confusion of which we get the right understanding afterwards. There is no oneness, no full understanding between these powers in us, or else there is no perfect correspondence of initiation with effectuation. Nor is the individual will in harmony with the universal. It tries to reach beyond it, or falls short of it, or deviates from and strives against it. It knows not the times and seasons of the truth, nor its degrees and measures. The Vijnana takes up the will and puts it first into harmony and then into oneness with the truth of the supramental knowledge. In this knowledge, the idea in the individual is one with the idea of the universal because both are brought back to the truth of the supreme knowledge and the transcendent will. The gnosis takes up not only our intelligent will, but our wishes, desires, even what we call the lower desires, the instincts, the impulses, the reachings out of sense and sensation, and it transforms them. They cease to be wishes and desires because they cease first to be personal and then cease to be that struggling after the ungrasped which we mean by craving and desire. No longer blind or half blind reachings out of the instinctive or intelligent mentality, they are transformed into a various action of the truth will. And that will acts with an inherent knowledge of the right measures of its decreed action and therefore with an effectivity unknown to our mental willing. Therefore, too, in the action of this Vijnanamay there is no place for sin. For all sin is an error of the will, a desire and act of the ignorance.
The chapter is the conditions for attainment to the gnosis. How does one go to the supramental world? So he has told you first there has to be a cosmic consciousness, then has to be the ego has to be gone. Okay, so these are the two. Now he is discussing the other aspects of the knowledge and force or will, and then his usual technical. He has not put. He has not put. He has not put comma dash, but he has put only dash, okay, parenthetical phrase. And he is explaining that all conscious force is always there is a will in it. Because will is a form of force. Force is without any direction and without any specification. But will is something you want to use the force for a particular work, okay, then it is focused. So force is unfocused if you want, and will is focused force. It's an interesting way of putting it, but that's it. Are the two sides of the action of consciousness. So consciousness has got a static condition and a dynamic condition. The static condition is knowledge and the dynamic condition is force. Okay, so that's what it is. Then he's saying how at our level, in our mentality, there are two different things. We may have knowledge, but we may not have the will. I have the will to do something, but I don't have the knowledge how to do it. Okay, so at our level, they are divided. Knowledge and force are not always together. They can be together in different proportions. That also is possible. But at the highest level, they are one. Whenever there is consciousness, it implies also force. So now at our level, what happens is explaining. First of all, the idea comes first. Okay, I want to do this. I want to become a doctor. And then the idea comes first. The will comes stumbling after. Look at the language. So stumbling after or rebels against it. Then something you say, no, I don't want to be a doctor. I want to be an engineer. Okay, rebels against it. Or is used as its imperfect tool with imperfect results. So if you're not sure that you want to be a doctor, then it becomes imperfect. You must be absolutely sure. Your will must be firm. That's what he's saying. Or else the will starts up first with a blind or half-seeing idea in it and works out something in confusion of which we get the right understanding afterwards. Okay. Somehow I am attracted to being a doctor and I want to be a doctor, but I don't know exactly what it means. What are the implications? That's what he's saying. So sometimes it comes and then afterwards there is clarity. Right understanding comes afterwards. Oh, this is what. But there is something pushing me towards this aim of becoming a doctor. So I have given very specific examples. There is no oneness. Oneness between knowledge and will. There is no oneness. They are divided. No full understanding between these powers in us. Which are the two powers? Consciousness and force. There is no perfect correspondence between them. There is a correspondence, imperfect. Nor is the individual will in harmony with the universal. Now, this is something interesting. Is there a universal will? Yes, because when man has not yet come, when animals have not yet come, when even nothing, even creation has taken place, there is a universal will. There is a will in Satchidananda. I want to manifest myself. And it manifests itself. It involves itself, it creates its different grades of its own consciousness and enters into them. So that is the universal will. Okay, so there is a will. The matter expresses a certain aspect of the universal will. Animals also express a certain aspect of the slightly higher level will, and it becomes clearer and clearer. The universal will becomes clearer and clearer as the consciousness on earth goes on increasing. That's why man also, his will is not in perfect tune with the universal will, what divine intends, but slowly it becomes more and more clear. Universal will you can think of as the divine will, okay, what the divine intention is, and he has put that into the universe. That's why he's using the word universal will. Actually, it's the divine will. I want to do this. And then man doesn't understand that, but as he keeps on rising, the divine will becomes more and more clear, and there's a harmony between the individual will and the divine will. Okay, when we are in our level 1, there is absolutely no harmony between the universal will and our individual will. But as we grow into the second level, okay, the spiritual planes of consciousness, already there is a much better understanding of the universal will. This is what God intends me to be, okay, and what he intends the universe to be. So, or else there is no oneness, no full understanding between these powers in us. Or else there is no perfect correspondence of initiation with effectuation. Now, this is interesting. This question of initiation and effectuation is very interesting. The, the word in the Gita is sarvarambha. Okay, wherever you want to do something, okay, it starts with an idea in the mind. Okay, even such a simple thing as today I have to read this, okay, or today I have to go to the market to get my piece of soap for myself. The idea comes first, and then you do it actually. So that's what Srinath means by initiation, the idea in the mind, and then the effectuation. He is using different words, but he said earlier. He said the idea comes first, and that's the initiation. And then will come stumbling after, that's the effectuation. Okay, so he's using different words to express the same idea. Nor is the individual will in harmony with the universal. He does not saw that. How? It tries to reach beyond it and falls short of it, or deviates from and strives against it. The universe does not always correspond to your individual wish. That's what he's saying. Why? Because the universal will is infinite and your individual will is something very, very finite and limited only to your own needs. But your own needs are not the needs of the universe. So sometimes it doesn't tally at all. That's what Sridhar is saying. Nor is the individual will in harmony with the universal. It tries to reach beyond. What is it? The individual will. It tries to reach beyond and falls short of it or deviates from and strives against it. So all these are possibilities. One, you may not be able to reach. Very interesting. Sridhar's father wanted him to do the IAS, no, at that time it was ICS, but it didn't come, it fell short or it deviates. Okay, it didn't, he got the knowledge for the ICS, but he didn't get the ICS. And he even strove against it. He didn't want to be, because if he had to become an ICS officer, he would have been under the British. Very interesting to see. So, perfect correspondence of initiation with effectuation. Nor is the individual will in harmony with the universe. It tries to reach beyond it or falls short of it or deviates from and strives against it. It knows not the times and seasons of the truth, nor its degrees and measures. Now, Sridhar is saying very interesting. It knows not the times and seasons for the truth. In other words, every truth that is there in manifestation, there is a particular time when it comes. The time has not yet come for you to do something. It's so obvious. Okay, so that's what he's saying, that you have to understand when to do something. Sometimes it is not at all the right time to do something. Yesterday, we were discussing that Adityanath saying that Sri Aurobindo has already forecast the dissolution of Pakistan. And then when they asked him further about Akhand Bharat, he said that it is better not to speak of these things now because it is not yet the time. Some things you need not speak about. They are not, the time is not right for it. So that's exactly what is there in everything. Na? In everything, the time has to be appropriate to what you want to do and what you are intended to do. So, it knows not the times and seasons of the truth, nor its degrees and measures. To what extent it will become a reality, that also we don't know. But the Vijnana, that is the supermind, takes up the will and puts it first into harmony and then into oneness with the truth of the supermental knowledge. So as you keep climbing in consciousness, first of all, at level 1, you are in ignorance and your will is very often out of sync with the universal will, the divine will. Second, when you go to level 2 in the spiritual planes of consciousness, you start realizing partly what the divine will is and the universal intention, and you are partly in harmony with it. But when you rise to the Vijnana, it corrects all these things. That's what he's saying. It takes up the will, the individual will, and puts it into harmony and then into oneness with the truth of the supermental knowledge. Your will becomes one with the knowledge. Okay. At our level, they are all divided, but at the supermental level, it is taken and made one. Knowledge and will become one. Initiation and effectuation become one. In this knowledge, the idea in the individual is one with the idea in the universal. The intention of the divine and you becomes very clear. What you are intended to do becomes very, very clear to you. And that's different because it's not the same for everybody. Huh? Today one day I was reading in the letters, and it says that every soul, every human soul has got a different destiny. Some people may want to disappear into the infinite like the Buddhists. Some people want to remain in the Vaikuntha or the Goloka. They want to enjoy that forever, the soul. And some say they want to come back into the physical world. And some say they want to go into the supermental even higher and higher. So each soul is intended for a certain thing. And you come to know your intention. That's what he's saying. You know? The gnosis supramental, takes up not only our intelligent will, but our wishes, desires, even what we call the lower desires, the instincts, the impulses, the reachings out of sense and sensation, and transforms them. In other words, even your desires, even the worst things that you can think of, okay, all your wrong intention, there is a truth behind it. And the truth is revealed to you when you go into the supramental. That truth in the supramental gets distorted in the lower levels of consciousness, and it becomes your wrong action and your wrong will and your wrong knowledge. So when you go to the supramental, all these errors and mistakes, I was going to say wrongnesses, are corrected. That's what he's saying. Okay, so it transforms them and transforms them. The what is evil here, okay, is it is washed and clean, and it is transformed into its essential truth. That's what he's saying. So even every evil that you have, okay, gets transformed. Now, just one single example, let us take. Say cruelty. Okay. It is cruelty, what is it? It is force used for a wrong purpose. Okay. So cruelty becomes pure force at the highest level. Okay. So it's interesting. And take hate, for instance. Okay. Hate is nothing but a deformation of love. If you love somebody in the beginning, it's so common in the physical world. It turns into hate if there is no response. So actually they are the same thing. If love can transform itself into hate, then it is the same thing, basically. So it gets washed by its impurities and wrong deformations and goes back to its original truth. That's what Swami is saying. Very interesting what he's saying. Just see, the gnosis takes up not only our intelligent will, but our wishes, desires. On the one hand, we are told to get rid of our desires. In the beginning, that's what you have to do. But then when you go to the higher level of consciousness, you see that your desire had some truth in it. Even what we call lower desires, the instincts, the impulses, the reachings out of sense. The reachings out of sense, sense is, okay, you have to understand this reaching out of sense is correct. The sense is reaching out to possess things. That's what it means. It is not reaching out of sense means you are coming out of the sense. No, not in that sense. Okay. The sense is your eyes, ears, nose, throat, etc. Whatever it is, skin. Okay. So all these senses are rushing outwards. They are reaching to possess things. That's what I mean by the reachings out of sense. Don't interpret this as reaching out of. No, it is reachings out of sense. The sense is reaching out, okay, and sensation, and it transforms them. They cease to be wishes and desires because they cease first to be personal and then cease to be that struggling after the ungrasped, which we mean by craving and desire. So what is craving and desire? He is giving a beautiful definition. That which you are wanting and you are not able to get, that is the craving. That's why craving comes. No longer blind or half-blind reachings out. Again, he is using the words reaching out of the instinctive or intelligent mentality. They are transformed into a various action of the truth will. The truth will is not only one and not only is the same for everybody. For everybody, it will be different. That's why the various action. The truth will can be expressed itself in the physical world infinitely. With different people, different truth will okay, are transformed into a various action of the truth will. And that will acts with an inherent knowledge of the right measures of its decreed action. There you are, okay? Every soul, its action is decreed. It is planned right at the highest level, okay? And therefore, with an effectivity unknown to our mental willing. Because it is decreed from high, we don't know what it is. And therefore, with an effectivity unknown to our mental willing. Now, this is also a very interesting, you can see also in Srinivas's life. Nah? He was wanting to become a freedom fighter. Okay. He was told to go somewhere else. the effectivity unknown to our mental village. You say, no, don't engage yourself with your in the freedom movement. The others will take care of it. Go and do something else. Your a much higher action is intended for you. That's exactly it. It's very interesting. And again, we can give another example also. It's a little political, but you should not misunderstand what I'm saying. Modi, our Prime Minister, wanted to become a monk. You know, when he was a very young boy, he ran away to the Himalayas. His father said, okay. My mother said, okay. His mother was the guiding force in his life. And he went to the Ramakrishna mission, and the monk there, a very developed man, told him that no, your destiny is not to be a monk. There are other things. You cannot leave the world. Your destiny is something else. So twice he tried to become a monk, but he was refused. That's exactly what Swami is saying here in different words. And that will, with an inherent knowledge and the right measure, it's decreed action, and therefore with an effectivity unknown to our mental willing. We don't know what our destiny is, and sometimes we look for the wrong thing. Okay. So, therefore, too, in the action of the Vijnanamaya will, there is no place for sin, because that which is you think that you should do gets transformed into the right way of looking at things. Okay? So that's what he's saying. Therefore, too, in the action of the Vijnanamaya, Vijnanamaya will, there is no place for sin. Are you explaining why? For all sin is an error of the will, a desire and act of the ignorance. So all that is evil here, all that is suffering, all that is, if you go to the supramental world, you find a justification for all these things. If you are stuck at level 2 or at level 1, you will feel that what is this? God has created all these things meaningless. They don't become meaningless when you go to the supramental level. Sometimes if you are lucky, you can get even at level 2 also, you can start understanding that the world is not what it is. Okay, so. Okay, we can go to the next para. When desire ceases entirely. So, who will read?
Rangada?
Yeah, tell me. Yes.
Can I ask a question on the English question? Here, if you translate the Vijnana Maya will, if you translate this phrase into English, what would that be?
Can you repeat that question slowly, Sunki?
Okay. Yes.
I'm a little deaf and I don't understand very clearly. So
Yes. I'd like to know the English translation of this phrase, the Vijnana Maya will.
Okay. Vijnana Maya.
Vijnana Maya will. Yes.
Oh, it is not Vijnana Maya. It is Vijnana Maya. Okay. So that means full of Vijnana. Okay.
Okay.
Don't think Maya. The word Maya is not here. Vijnana Maya. In Sanskrit, Maya means full of. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Right. I've understood what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. The Vijnana Maya, okay. Maya means full of. In our Indian language also it is like that. Okay, we go to the next one. When desire ceases entirely. Somebody has to read. Jasmine, your throat is okay? Yeah, Jasmine may not be there. So Archana Di read just now. So maybe Sunki, you can read maybe?
Yes, I will read.
Okay, go ahead, read it. When desire ceases entirely.
When desire ceases entirely, grief and all inner suffering also cease. The Vijnana takes up not only our parts of knowledge and will, but our parts of affection and delight, and change it. And
Yeah. What happened? Your internet connection gone? Looks like that.
Yes, even I cannot hear.
Yeah, I think she has lost.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly, but we can't hear Sunki.
No, I can read, but there's some problem with my Skype today. I don't know whether you can know that I'm there or not. I'm very much there.
No, we can hear you very clearly. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Fine. In
So
that
do
case,
you want me to read?
yes, you can do that because Sunki is sort of cut off, I think. Okay.
Okay.
Read from the beginning. When desire ceases.
When desire ceases entirely, grief and all inner suffering also cease. The Vijnana takes up not only our paths of knowledge and will, but our paths of affection and delight and changes them into action of the divine Ananda. For if knowledge and force are the twin sides or powers of the action of consciousness, delight, Ananda, which is something higher than what we call pleasure, is the very stuff of consciousness and the natural result of the interaction of knowledge and will, force and self awareness. Both pleasure and pain, both joy and grief are deformations because by the distortion of harmony between our consciousness and the force it applies, between our knowledge and will, a breaking up of their oneness by a descent to a lower plane in which they are limited, divided in themselves, restrained from their full and proper action, at odds with other force, other consciousness, other knowledge, other will. The Vijnana sets this to, to rights by the power of its truth and a wholesale restoration to oneness and harmony, to the right and the highest law. It takes up all our emotions and turns them into various forms of love and delight. Even our hatreds, repulsions, causes of suffering. It finds out or reveals the meaning they missed, and by missing it, became the perversions they are. It restores our whole nature to the eternal good. It deals similarly with our perceptions and sensations and reveals all the delight that they seek, but in its truth, not in any perversion and wrong seeking and wrong reception. It reaches even our lower impulses to lay hold on the divine and infinite in the appearances after which they run. All this is done not in the values of the lower being, but by a lifting up of the mental, vital material into the inalienable purity, the natural intensity, the continual ecstasy, yet one manifold of the divine Ananda.
Yeah. Earlier here, we refer back to Satchidananda. Okay. So he has read in previous para, he has read this Chit Shakti. Now he is reading this para with Anand. Okay. So that's exactly what he's doing. So we'll have a look at that. And when desire ceases entirely, it can cease, largely it can cease even at level 2. When you go to the spiritual planes of consciousness, because ego disappears largely, okay, mostly it is gone. The gross desire, gross ego goes away at level 2, the spiritual planes of consciousness. When desire ceases entirely, grief and all inner suffering also cease, because you don't have any desire. And if you don't have any desire, there is no cause for grief. There is nothing to be satisfied. The Vijnana, by the way, Yasmin, the word is Vijnana, ja, okay. In our Indian language, we say Vijnana, okay. And many girls are called Pragya, so, but it is actually Prajya, okay. And in Anandai Hospital in Madurai, there is a doctor, okay. He is the son of, I've forgotten her name. Anyway, so he calls himself
Nachyar.
Huh? Pardon?
Dr. Nachyar's son, elder son.
Nachyar's son is, he calls himself Prajna. So it is neither Prajna nor is it Prajya. It is Prajna. Prajya. It is a nya sound. Okay, so prajna. So I was very surprised when he called himself prajna. Because in English, you don't know how to write it. No? That's the whole problem. Okay. When desire ceases entirely, grief and all inner suffering also cease. That's right. The vijnana takes up not only our parts of knowledge and will, but our parts of affection and delight and changes them into action of the divine Ananda. So, he's now talking the Ananda aspect. And Ananda also gets distorted here. It becomes affection and even becomes love and hate also, okay, and repulsion. For if knowledge and force are the twin sides or powers of the action of consciousness, delight, ananda, which is something higher than what we call pleasure, is the very stuff of consciousness and the natural result of the interaction of knowledge and will. Very interesting what he's saying. We look at it. Force and self-awareness. You see, you have a knowledge and the will, and you execute your knowledge. Okay, you have created something, and all creation is always giving you ananda. So that is one of the reasons also why some people experience the physical world as a play of the divine. It is a play. It's all full of ananda. That's the Vaishnava theory. So, but even in the physical world, when you create something and you succeed, there is an ananda, there is pleasure. So that's what he's explaining. And he's saying something interesting. He's saying that consciousness itself, ananda is inherent in it. And when ananda and knowledge and force, idea and effectuation, he has used different words. And when we understand the different words, then our understanding also becomes wider and larger. Knowledge and will, idea and effectuation. Effectuation related to will and knowledge related to consciousness. So, knowledge and will and ananda, when they come together, ananda is the result. That's what he's saying. Natural result of the interaction of knowledge and will, because there is creation, force and self-awareness. Both pleasure and pain, both joy and grief, okay, are deformations caused by the disturbance of harmony between our consciousness and the force it applies, between our knowledge and will, a breaking up of their oneness by a descent to a lower plane in which they are limited, divided in themselves, restrained from their full and proper action, at odds with other force, other consciousness, other knowledge, other will. Let's have a look very carefully at this sentence. Very interesting. Both pleasure and pain, both joy and grief. Now, why is he repeating? Why is he saying pleasure and pain and joy and grief? Because pleasure and pain belong to the body, and joy and grief are psychological. It can be either in the vital or the mind. Okay, so that's why it's very interesting. He's saying both bodily pleasure and pain, psychological joy and grief are deformations caused by the disturbance of harmony between our consciousness and the force it applies. So, when the interaction between consciousness and force is perfect, there is ananda. But when the interaction between knowledge and will is not very good, then there is a dissatisfaction, and then pain comes in. Na? I want to do something and I am unable to do. Naturally, there is dissatisfaction. He is putting it in philosophical language, but that's exactly what it means. Are deformations caused by the disturbance of harmony between consciousness and force it applies. Now, very interesting when you look at all the words. He said disturbance of harmony. He could have said lack of harmony, but he's saying disturbance of harmony because he's giving you extra information. When there is no harmony, it's not just simple lack of harmony. It also creates a disturbance. Okay, that's the information he's giving you. So his language is so precise. Disturbance of harmony between our consciousness and the force it applies. I am not able to execute my idea perfectly. Between our knowledge and will, And not only my own will and my own knowledge, but that of others also. That's what she's saying afterwards. A breaking up of their oneness by descent into a lower plane in which they are limited. Now he is applying the principle of the one becoming the many. Okay. These basic fundamentals we have to remember. When the one becomes the many, it divides itself. So when there is a division, consciousness and force are not in perfect synchronicity. Okay, they are not in sync, as they say nowadays in modern language. They are not in harmony. So then naturally there is dissatisfaction. Very interesting. Disturbance of harmony between our conscious force, it applies. Between our knowledge and will, a breaking up of their oneness. Breaking up, the principle of multiplicity comes in. By descent into a lower plane. Okay. That's again another thing we have noticed. When you go from one plane to another plane downwards, okay, there is an action of a break. He has actually used the word break. Okay, I'll refer you back to the phenomena of putting a stick in water. Okay? Air is one medium and water is another medium. So when air, you are coming down into water, and when you look at the stick, you will feel it is bent. Actually, it's not bent at all. So there's a breaking and there's a distortion that occurs. So when from the highest subtle planes, it comes down to the denser planes, there is a apparent breaking. Okay, the multiplicity is apparent. The oneness is always there. That stick remains the same, but it seems to be broken. It seems to be bent. Okay, that's what he's saying. When we give examples to ourselves, it becomes clear what we say. So, breaking up the oneness by a descent to a lower plane. He is using the word descent and lower plane. We can use the words from a subtler plane to a denser plane, we can say, in which they are limited, divided in themselves, restrained from their full and proper action, at odds with other force. Not only in myself, my knowledge and my force are in disharmony, but that of others also. Because somebody else may have a different opinion, somebody may have a different idea. So there is a disharmony with others, other force, other consciousness, other knowledge, other will. The disharmony can come from so many different places. It can be from force, consciousness, knowledge, other ideas, other will. The Vijnana sets this to rights. Okay? At the supramental level, all this is corrected, sets to rights by the power of its truth and a wholesale restoration to oneness and harmony. As you keep going higher and higher, we know that you going more and more towards the oneness of things. To the right, Satyam Ritam, the word Ritam, he is using the word right with an R cap, okay, and the highest law. So, right and the highest law, he is repeating the Vedic phrase, Satyam Ritam Brihat. Okay, the right and the law. Satyam Ritam Brihat. The vast. These are the words they use in the Isha Upanishad. The Rig Veda. It takes up, what is the it? The Vijnana, the gnosis. It takes up all our emotions and turns them into various forms of love and delight. Even our hatreds, okay, repulsions, causes of suffering, all that is taken up. They are washed of their impurities and only the essence remains. It's like a like iron ore. When you wash it, the essential iron comes out and all the dirt goes away. That's exactly what it's saying. It is washed. So hatred, when it is washed, it becomes love. Repulsion becomes attraction. Causes of suffering, these are the causes of suffering. It finds out or reveals the meaning they missed, and by missing it, become the perversions that they are. It restores our whole nature to the eternal good. It's very interesting that we have to see. That's why in the physical world, you must be able to see even those things which are seemingly to be very, very not good. There's always a good hidden in it. Okay? Take the mischief of a child. Okay, this is something for all teachers. When you see that there are some people who are very, very mischievous, okay? Their energy is too much and they don't know how to spend their energy. So you have to find the child what he gets interested in and divert his attention from his mischief and focus all his excess energy into something in which you can, it's up to you to find out what he is interested in, okay? And then turn it into that. So everything can be, to a certain extent, even at our level, if you see the good and the bad, we can do something. But at the Vijnanamaya level, perfect correction of all these wrong movements. That's what he's saying. It takes up our emotions and turns them into various forms of love. Now look at that, various forms of love. Love is not only one. It can be the purest love, it can be affection, it can be sympathy. There are so many forms of love. Huh? Okay, so, and delight. Even our hatreds, repulsions, causes of suffering. It finds out or reveals the meaning they missed, and by missing it, become the perversions they are. It restores our whole nature to the eternal good. It deals similarly with our perceptions and sensations and reveals all the delight that they seek. Now, we have been speaking about the psychological pain and suffering and all that, and now he is talking even at the physical level. Perceptions and sensations. Okay? Everything that you perceive and the senses that you feel. Okay? Sensation can be pleasant and unpleasant, but now everything becomes pleasant and reveals all the delight that they seek, but in its truth, not in any perversion or wrong seeking and wrong reception. So, wrong seeking. When you're going out of yourself, you're seeking something wrong, but when you receive also, you can receive in the right way and you can receive in the wrong way. So that is everything becomes perfect. It teaches even our lower impulses to lay hold on the divine and infinite in the appearances after which they run. We are running after the appearances only, but we have to run into the infinite and not the appearance. All this is done not in the values of the lower being, but by lifting up of the mental, vital, material into the inalienable purity, the natural intensity, the continual ecstasy, one yet manifold of the divine Ananda. So this is what he's saying. We have done 2 paras and he's telling you how this supermind works. Of course, the supermind, if you remain in that consciousness, then it becomes fantastic, but you can get touches of the supermind also, which is revealed in Sri Aurobindo correspondence with Niruddha. Niruddha is asking, have you achieved the supermind? And Sri Aurobindo says, I have not achieved the supermind, but I have got the tail of it. He has experienced it in flashes and partially. But if you have achieved the supermind, then even the body will start changing. And Mother was on the way to doing that. She was working at the physical level to introduce the divine consciousness into every cell. And she had done that work at a huge level up to the subtle physical level. Now only all that work is there waiting to precipitate itself into matter. That will take time. But the work that she has done is unbelievable. Sri Aurobindo told her to do that work, to bring all that Vijnana down into the very body. And that's what she was doing. She says very interestingly that her mental disappeared and her vital also disappeared. And she was working at the consciousness of the cell. Just imagine how far she had gone. She says there's no mind, there's no vital, all gone. Only the body. I have to deal with the body. Okay, we stop here today because it's time. And next time we'll read. So next with us, the being of Vijnana. We can start. Okay, au revoir everybody. Have a nice.
Let's see, Babu.
Thank you, Rangada.